Hello, Periscope family. Good morning, good morning, good morning. See everybody's coming on in, logging in. If you don't mind, go ahead and swipe a share. Swipe a share. Let everybody know that we're on this morning. Good morning, Sister Sarah. Appreciate the hearts early. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you. I think the series is going well. Thank you guys for participating. Sister Belinda, good morning. Val, good morning. Cuz Rube, good morning. Pope, good morning to you. Hello, Sheila and Kenneth Christian again. Always glad to have you guys on. Minister Bazemore, good morning. Trees, hope you're having a good day. Sister Phyllis, hope you're blessed as well. Good morning, Sister Venus. Everybody came in quick. I'm glad it's blessing you. It's been a blessing to me having to kind of prepare and study for them all as well. Good morning, Sister Bugs, Pastor White. Good morning. Hey, Stacy. Good morning to you, Lolitha. Good to have you back in the morning. I see you, Cheryl from Richmond. Good morning. Phone stalker. Hey, mommy. Good morning. Sister Sharon. Good morning. Miss Veronica. Good morning to you as well. Sister Cynthia, good morning. Deacon Jones, I see you on. Hey, Mel, good morning. Sister Pam, good morning to you. Pastor Sharp, good morning. Good morning. We have about 35, 40, yep, 40 viewers. And so let's go ahead and jump into our cast today. We are still in entrepreneurship, and the entrepreneurship we are in. Good morning to the Foremans. Is out of Matthew 4. This is one of the occasions where Jesus chooses his first disciples. He's looking at Peter and Andrew in one ship. Remember, they are having a forecast. They toss out their nets in hope that something would happen, and then they use the net, not a rod and hook, because sometimes we should go back to the future to see maximum productivity. And then, later he's going to say to them, follow me, right? And Peter and Andrew, the Bible says in Matthew 4, immediately dropped what they were doing and they followed him. So we probably could do a whole lesson on obedience, but we'll skip that, assuming that everybody knows when you should be obedient, even if you choose not to. Most of us know better. And so let me just say, obedience is still better than sacrifice. None of us know it all, so please be willing to listen to others. And more importantly, always follow directions from Christ. Here's what he does after they follow him. He walks a little further down that beach, and he sees James and John. They're working with their father Zebedee, and he calls them too. Tomorrow we'll talk a little bit about James and John and Zebedee, but today I want to kind of talk about building the best board. I've come to understand that everyone needs a team to help make decisions. We've talked about that time and time again. But today I want to kind of look at who Jesus chooses to be kind of in his inner circle. And let me also suggest that no matter what vein of life you're in, particularly if you're making business decisions in ministry, for nonprofits, for for-profit businesses, for your organization, for your family, maybe even with your friends, you want to kind of identify a board, even if you don't officially name them as a board. You want to have an inner circle. Your inner circle is usually not as large as, clearly the large group. It's not the masses. It's not the majority group, but it's a diverse group, and diversity is important. That's what Jesus does. Notice who he picks. He's got Peter, Andrew, James, and John. Historically, Peter probably would have been older than all of the other disciples based on how long, he lived and how much he wrote. Different from Andrew, James, and John. Matter of fact, there are arguments to suggest that Andrew, James, and John were teenagers. If you remember when Jesus had to pay taxes, he had to pay taxes for all of the disciples, but he only paid for him and Peter because he and Peter would have been of tax-paying age, which suggests that the other disciples were probably still in their teens, young enough not to have to pay taxes. That's important when we talk about boards and talk about business entrepreneurship, because I think for me it means that you don't have to wait until you are grown or an adult or have graduated, with the master's and the doctorate to launch out into business. Sometimes even in your youth, you can go ahead and get started. That's for people who are young in age, but then also those who are young in experience. Look, jump out there, take that step, get started. And then if you have a good board, your youth is somehow undergirded by the people that you select and choose to work alongside of you. For adults, parents, let me just kind of encourage you to encourage your young people, your youth, people you know, your children, your grandchildren. Don't make them think they have to graduate from college before they can become entrepreneurs. These disciples prove that entrepreneurship can actually take place even in youth. Lemonade stands, or I remember growing up, my grandfather used to make us collect cans, and we had to collect can tops, and we were changing those cans in for change that we could use for spending. It wasn't a business, but it helped us create business mindsets. And so understand that you can be young in age or young in experience and still jump out there, because the board kind of helps subsidize some of the ignorance and lack of skill that you may have. So Jesus chooses some, right? He chooses Andrew, Peter, James, and John. Quickly, let me kind of go through their skill sets. Peter was the man, right? James, John, and Peter hung out with Jesus even more than Andrew. The three of them become the top three in the four, and then the four are picked out of the 12. And Peter is one who is aggressive. He's very outspoken. He's often the face of the disciples. Whenever Jesus needed some upfront, out loud information, Peter would be the one. Peter was with him when he asked everyone, "Who do men say that I am?" They mumbled a few words, but then Peter was a little more accurate and said, "You are the Son of God." Peter was the guy who cut off a man's ear. Later, Peter would do a little cussing, and while it wasn't profitable, it really just kind of proves that he had this fiery spirit about him. He was the type of person on the board or in your organization that you could send out on your behalf and would speak for you. That if you couldn't show up, there's someone enough like you that could make it happen on your behalf. You need that. You need that person. And that's true, because remember, later, after all of Peter's downfalls, it's Peter who preaches and 3,000 people get saved, because he was the board member that best represented the entire Jesus Christ disciple apostolic, organization. Who do you have that when you can't show up can represent you, who can speak on your behalf in meetings, who can show up and be the face of the organization or the ministry or the business that you have? Secondly, we have this guy, Andrew. Now, Andrew represents the marketing team for Jesus and his organization. Remember, Andrew would be the one, watch, he's not at every meeting. He's not with James, John, and Peter at the Mount of Transfiguration. He's not at James, John, and Peter, when they're separated during the Garden of Gethsemane for prayer. He's not with James, John, and Peter when they go into the house of Jairus when his daughter is sick. No, he's on the board, but his role is marketing. Andrew is the guy who recruits, and talks to others about joining the organization. You remember? Andrew was the guy who, after noting that Jesus really was the Messiah, who went back and said, "Hey, we found him. This is the guy." And then other disciples jumped on ship. Andrew was the guy when they were ready to feed the 5,000 and they couldn't find any bread. And, I think one of the disciples spoke out of turn and said, "Hey, we don't have enough money to buy bread for all of these people." Andrew was the one who found the young boy and brought the young boy with 2 fish and 5 loaves of Jesus, because he kind of represents the marketing. He's the recruiter for the team. Andrew and Philip were the ones who found those Greeks who were trying to figure out how to be saved. And Andrew, again, through masterful marketing, makes a sales pitch and says, "Hey, I'm not sure what you're looking for, but this guy has it." And these Greeks come and find Jesus, because everyone needs to have good marketing. And if I could say this, just kind of having seen what takes place in the marketplace and in the churches and ministries, sometimes our ministries have, low budget marketing. There's a guy, and I just forgot his name. Man, it'll come to me, or I'll post it. But he does this book called Uncharitable, and he talks about how in every organization, particularly nonprofits, you should spend more money in marketing than you do in any other area, because you can have the best product, but if no one knows about it, it will not matter. Dan Pallotta is his name. Dan Pallotta. He writes a book called Uncharitable, and he says that we don't spend enough money in marketing. We cut money in marketing. We draw our own boards and we color in our own posters. We use clip art for how we go advertise. And he says it just doesn't compete. People can determine the quality of your product by the quality of your marketing. And Jesus must have understood this because he chose Andrew early on in choosing his board members. And then, of course, there is there's marketing outside and there's marketing inside. There is an argument that as much as you market to people to become clients and join your organization, you should also market within your organization so that everyone who's already working, all of your current employees, they really understand what's happening, what's taking place, what's next, and what's being mobilized, what products are being produced. The last thing you want is for people on the outside to want a product or want to join your organization or be a part of your company or buy from your company, but then when they call, people inside the company don't really have a good grasp on what's taking place. So you should have Andrews marketing outside, and you should make sure that you do hardcore marketing within your organization. Keep everyone informed. That's right, Sister Phyllis. Make sure everyone knows what's taking place. There should be some catchphrases that everyone knows. Andrew was good at that. Then lastly, we have James and John, who are nicknamed the Sons of Thunder. They too have a fiery spirit about them. And there are probably a lot of things we could highlight, but I think what I like to highlight about James and John is that they had already been coached by Zebedee. There should be someone on your team that has some prior experience, some prior expertise, someone on your team that knows some things that you don't necessarily know. You can be good at everything. And I think one of the misconceptions about business is that you have to know and you have to be an expert at every area of your business. That's probably good, and you should definitely have a hand on everything in it, but you don't have to be the best at everything. Matter of fact, a good leader will always recruit around him or her people who are better at some things than they are. It's your business, your company, your organization, your ministry. I get it. But you want to have a James and John that's already had some prior Zebedee tutelage where they come bringing some things to the table that everybody else doesn't bring. Matter of fact, I'm a John Maxwellian, and studying John Maxwell, he says, you don't really want to strengthen your weaknesses. You want to strengthen your strengths. You do what you do well, and then you hire and recruit around you people who are good at what you're weak in. And obviously, I don't want to say that Jesus is weak in any area, but I do want to suggest that there's some things that James and John were asked to do that would cut some time out so Jesus wouldn't have to do it. And you want to think about that. When you create your board, and again, whether this is an official board or, a proverbial board of people that you just stay in contact with, make sure you have a Peter who can be the face of your organization. Make sure you have an Andrew who's marketing your organization. But then look for James and John, who are sons of, mentors of, have been coached by someone else, so that when they sit down at the table, they can bring a brand new perspective to help launch you, your business, your organization, your ministry, your family into the next place it's going to go. Jesus knows that even though he's the Son of God, in his entrepreneurship, he's going to need a good board. And he chooses the best board right up front. Look, he's not the only one. David does it. If you check out Chronicles and Kings, David has this group of mighty men. And although he has this group of mighty men, I believe it's 33 of them, 30 or 33 mighty men, he still has a group outside of that 33. Within that 33 that make up the board. There are three men who lead the 33 men, because in any good organization, there's always a board that helps you become your best. You choose the best board, you'll get the best results. And today I want to encourage you to go look for your team. Go recruit, go look for your Peter, your Andrew, your James and John, because there's a sea of success that's waiting for you to conquer, waiting for you to navigate. And we want everybody to do this together. So once again, I say all aboard. Get on this ship. Make sure you have the best board to help get you to where you're going. Hope you guys can use some of this. Hopefully you already have a board, and if not, go recruit him and find that team that's gonna help make it work for you. It sounds cliche, but I wouldn't be me if I didn't toss it out. Teamwork makes the dream work, and I think that the dream God has implanted in you is gonna require the best team possible. They aren't always the people that you want, aren't always the people that you depended on forever, but God has somebody out there to help move you forward. Be blessed, and I look forward to meeting, joining, and networking with your best board. Take care.